Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the ridiculous astronomical price tag for Star Wars Andor. It was $700 million for 2 seasons.
It was about $700 million. It's probably going to go higher. That's just the, like up until the end of last year. And then they had production that went into this year, which they'll probably won't report till like the end of this year and early next year. So it's probably gonna go higher than that. And that's for like 2 seasons. And they'll be like, well, okay, 24 episodes, but 3 seasons of The Mandalorian cost about $360 million.
And more people watch that. A lot more people watch that, right? Now, won't be very clear up front because we always have people look at the thumbnails and not actually watch the video. We're not saying Andor is a bad show.
No.
In fact, you've watched some of it. You said it was actually pretty good. What we're saying is the show was incredibly expensive and the quality does not justify the price tag. People can't shovel infinite amounts of money into the furnace and be like, well, I'm making art, so it's okay, bigots.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep making. No, it's the company, $700 million. So that like wipes out probably all the profit from, Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi. They probably made about $700 million profit.
I think other shows have wiped that out years ago.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to put it in perspective, they actually made money on the sequels. It was declining, film after film, but all these Star Wars projects these failing Star Wars projects have eaten up all the profit.
Well, that's just it. And that doesn't mean that they're a bad show. It doesn't mean they're bad. The viewership was bad. I'm sorry. The viewership wasn't great. Critically acclaimed. A lot of fans said that it was great. Viewership was not there. Same with Acolyte. Acolyte, no one watched it. And then they didn't renew it because no one watched it.
And they're trying to say, oh, it's the bigots and the misogynists, whatever. Actually, the bigots and the misogynists and the fascists and whatever, at least the first season, a lot of them actually liked this one, but it still doesn't justify the cost. That's what people don't. They got to get through their heads. Like, just because something is good doesn't mean it's going to turn a profit. Just because it does okay opening weekend doesn't mean it's going to turn a profit. There's bad stuff that turns a profit and good stuff that's in the hole. And the companies, they look at the financials and they're like, what's the long-term outlook for this? And I think with Star Wars in general, when they bought Star Wars, they bought the whole franchise. So they were banking on like toy sales and everything else to maybe make up for losses on the Disney Plus shows. And those toys are not selling. None of these toys are selling now. No. So basically the show has to justify itself in people signing up for Disney Plus or something else. But I don't even know how the hell you monetize Star Wars right now because nobody gives a shit about anything except the original trilogy and maybe occasionally the prequels.
I think it's basically the number of subscribers, and then they're saying this percent goes to that, and then ad support. Like if advertisers want to run it during Star Wars, that kind of thing.
Just put the episodes on YouTube and let's see the number of views.
Oh, they won't do that. They can't control that. They can't hide that.
So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
If you want more Clownfish TV, go out to more.clownfishtv.com. That's more.clownfishtv.com. We've got some paid content out there. We're bringing forums back. We've got some other surprises. So going into 2026, expect a lot more activity over there. Thank you so much for the support. So let's talk about it because we talked about the Acolyte the other day, and Leslie Headland, the showrunner, was out there saying that, it was the fascists and the bigots and the homophobes and the misogynists and the alt-right tanked her show. But the reality is that even good Star Wars, people aren't watching it.
Right, that's they're over Star Wars, but they paid $700 million, according to reports. I think it came from Forbes, and then I got it from another site. They paid all this money for the show, and the show did not do well as far as viewership's concerned. It did okay, as far as fan response, but not viewership. And they did get, to be fair, they did get 25.5% back of the money they spent in the UK in tax credits. So that was about $142.3 million. So it's bringing the total down to $553.4 million.
Only what a bargain at $553.4 million.
Right. So they did get some of that, but it's just not worth it.
I think if you start to break it down, and Star Wars films are not cheap to make, right? And one of the things they promised with Disney Plus was that they were going to spend as much money on the Star Wars shows as they did on the Star Wars movies, and same with Marvel. But when you look at the amount of content, Andor is basically what, like 3 or 4 Star Wars movies worth of content spread out over however many episodes. So, yeah, I guess if you look at it that way, you can kind of sort of see where the money went. But then you look at the Acolyte and the episodes I watched, I'm like, this looks like a bad episode of Star Trek from the 90s. Like,
it was only like 8 episodes, and it cost like 250, 300 million for that.
So I think okay, so this is just my armchair observation, my thought on it, right? Especially for franchises like this. Sometimes they will front load them. They will basically pay for all the props and the costumes and stuff up front. So you have a huge initial cost. It's like if you're going to start a business, you have to go buy all the furniture and you have to do the, the decoration, all that stuff. You got to buy all your equipment up front. And then over the course of several years, you're hopefully going to pay that back and then some. And I think that's kind of sort of how it works with Star Wars. Because I noticed with, I don't even know why I noticed this thing, but I noticed with Solo, they were Solo and the Disney Plus shows, they were reusing a lot of the costumes and the aliens and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so you had to go build all the props, and then you're just going to recycle them for each project. So that possibly maybe might have been like they were thinking, oh, we're going to do a bunch of High Republic shows, so let's do a whole bunch of costumes and stuff for High Republic and sets for High Republic, and then it was a huge disaster. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure they reuse some of it, but I don't think that these budgets reflect that too much.
Again, they snorted it. I don't know. I have no idea.
So if you keep going down,
okay,
I actually found this one image on here, and it was showing like how the show's performed. Okay,
right
up until April, whatever. So around the time of the second part of Andor. And you can see if you combine the first Andor and the second Andor by looking for, his face, those two together don't come anywhere near like the Mandalorians 1 through 3, even Obi-Wan, they're going to be about the same or coming close to it. But one show did what it took 2 seasons of another one to do. And they didn't pay anywhere near as much for those as they did. Like I said, Mandalorian was about $360 million for all 3 seasons.
Yeah, and I think they were cautious on The Mandalorian because this was the first Disney Plus show they were doing, Star Wars, and they were coming off of Solo being a huge flop, and then Rise of Skywalker doing like half of what The Force Awakens did. So I think they probably weren't gonna. They were like, yeah, we're not going to overspend on this thing. Just get some Stormtrooper costumes out of storage. We'll build a new Yoda puppet and just spray paint that Boba Fett costume.
Yeah, right.
Let's just go from there.
Another reason I think Andor, the second season, might not have done as well as first season was because they kind of went, political, which, Star Wars always was political, but there was a lot of parallels drawn to current political climate, and people think that they were trying to shove politics and stuff in there, to reflect current, quote unquote.
This is what's so weird about, like, everything is so hyper political now, just in general, that people are very attuned and they pay very close attention. They were not paying attention before, but you want to talk about Star Wars being political. George Lucas had a character called Newt Gunray, for God's sake. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was like, and he was even saying that, with Palpatine, that was like kind of, about Bush and, that whatever. So that's a whole thing, but I guess it wasn't as in your face, and we didn't have him out there constantly just beating that drum. And you see a lot of the people associated with these shows, and they just will not shut up about politics.
Yeah, I think that's, I know like the Gilroy's brother was one that was writing it, and he was like super, super political all the time. And I think that kind of drove people away too. But my point is, comparatively speaking in viewership, it didn't do anywhere near what Mandalorian did. And Mandalorian was 360 million as opposed to 700 plus million. And it just didn't get the viewership. And it, like I said, doesn't mean it's a bad show. It just means it didn't get the viewership. So like the Acolyte, they only did 2 seasons and they weren't going to do any more. Yeah. Because I'm surprised at the second season of Andor, to be honest with you.
It was probably front loaded, and they probably had an episode order for it. And this is the same with these different cartoon shows that we've covered with, like She-Ra, for example. People are like, a second Clownfish, She-Ra's not canceled. It's getting 5 seasons, which is more than the original show got. I'm like, well, bitch, at the end of it, it's like half as many episodes as the original show. And beyond that, the initial episode order was for the 52 episodes or whatever, and they just divided it up.
Yeah,
right?
a season's not 5 episodes. I'm sorry.
No. So what they're doing is they're like, we're going to spend X number of dollars on 20 episodes or whatever, and that's going to be our episode order, and that's how it works. And the seasons are basically them chopping up the episode order into chunks, and then you kind of figure out where it goes from there. But what's crazy is you look at the 90s and you look at, I mentioned Star Trek, and you had Star Trek and, Babylon 5 and Stargate and all these science fiction shows that honestly in some ways look better than the Disney Plus Star Wars shows. And they were doing like 20 to 26 episodes a year on, like, there were like 4 Star Trek shows on one time. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember that.
But they were reusing a lot of the props, and they were, what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just, I don't know where the money goes. I have no idea.
I'm just saying, just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean people are going to watch it. And this one, they spent a lot of money and people didn't. And I think people are not interested in Star Wars anymore, not interested in Marvel anymore. You can see across the picture there.
You can see
the blue and the red. The red's Marvel. Go back up. Red, Marvel, blue, Star Wars. It's in decline. Look at it. It's just a massive decline across the board.
And you can see it particularly with new characters that don't have a connection to the franchise, or the franchise as people understand, right? Like Obi-Wan actually has Spike here, but they're like, oh, we're getting Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
With the Mandalorian, people looked at and they're like, oh, it's Boba Fett. Yeah. Basically, it's like, oh, it's another Boba Fett.
And a cute baby Yoda, And
cute baby Yoda. Like, that's something people can wrap their heads around. But like even Marvel, it's like, if it's not an Avenger that was in the movie, like you can see nobody gives a shit, right? Mm-hmm. They don't care. What is that? Is that Daredevil? Mm-hmm. Daredevil only did that? Holy hell. Are you sure?
Yeah, it didn't do well.
Daredevil Born Again only had 4 million. Wow. Well, that one was like R-rated though, too, right?
I didn't watch it, which I was going to watch it. I love Daredevil, the first one, but honestly, I couldn't get give a shit to watch it.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch it either. I didn't really talk much.
The original, the
yeah,
Netflix
I did too.
Ones.
I've heard.
I just never got enough give a shit to watch it. And time. I never have time.
It's been so long since the original series, but I've heard from people whose opinions I trust that it's okay, but it's nowhere on the same level as the original series. So, that's kind of disappointing. But it's also just a general burnout from Marvel and Star Wars. Like, I don't care. Like Andor, everybody's telling me for years now, you need to watch Andor. It's really good. Watch it. It's really good. Watch. I'm like, you know what? Someday, if I literally have nothing else to do, maybe, but I'm so checked out from Star Wars. I'm going to be honest, it could be the best fucking Star Wars thing, Marvel thing ever made, and I'm going to be hesitant to watch it because I've been burnt so many times before.
Yeah, it's just too much stuff. It's like, it used to be like special and you'd be excited to watch all of it.
Yeah.
And then, you can go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, but you only can eat so much. And then you're just like, I'm going to puke. I don't want to eat it. And then you might not ever go there again because you're like, I overate and I got sick. It's kind of like that.
Once it comes out of your nose, right, you never want to eat it again. I'm just saying. So,
are we going to wrap this up?
We're going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.